This week on the Baseline Podcast, Josh and I are breaking down the NL and AL way too early starters for the All-Star game coming in July. We give you who we think is going to be the starters. Now, this could totally change, but we said, why not give it a shot and predict what could happen? We also talk about a little bit of the NFL, what is happening with the Christmas games happening on Netflix. Is Ben excited or is he not? And then finally, what has been happening around some college football news? All that and so much more coming up on the Baseline Podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Baseline Podcast. I'm Ben, that's Josh, and we are back again. It's May, which is awesome. There goes my dog. It's May, and it's boring time in sports. I hate to say that because it's not really boring. It just there's not really like exciting things, like, because I guess the NBA playoffs could be exciting, but let's be honest, it's been kind of boring this year. NHL, not really anything too exciting yet. Baseball is still just going on. But Josh, speaking of this boring month, is there anything interesting in your life that's been going on that you would like to share with the crowd?
Just some hectic days at work. It's starting to get hot in our plant. I'm working with 430-degree asphalt. It doesn't help when it's 80 degrees
awful.
outside and there's no AC, and all that I get really to cool down is a fan and as much Gatorade as my heart desires.
Your electrolytes are high.
They are, yeah. The sodium and the water levels are very good. That's about as hectic as it could get. I might try to go and catch the Mets series at Cleveland next week, but that's more future plans. What's been going on with you with coaching football and stuff?
We had a game-winning touchdown this past weekend. So believe it or not, Josh, we were down 9-0 at halftime to a team that we were probably 2 times better than, for sure. Like, this team had like 2 Americans, pretty good Americans, like solid dudes. I think we were a team with a target on our back. And we were down 9-0. At one point the score was 11-6. They were winning. That's just the weirdest score I've ever
11-6.
It was 11-6 at one point. They blocked an extra point, took it back for 2 points. And then we scored with about 20 seconds left. Our American receiver / DB came over to the sideline to me and to our coach and was like, just give me the ball. I'm going to burn this guy. And I was just like, all right, hey, what could go wrong, right? We go 2-1, or we go 3-0. And he throws it up, and he shows why an American playing in a Hungarian league is just not fair. He basically just skied over everyone and snagged it in the corner of the end zone. Touchdown. We won the game. We're 3-0 heading into this week, which is a rivalry week. Could be 4-0 after this upcoming week, Josh.
So are Americans and Hungarian football looked at like how black kids are looked at on a basketball court at a park here?
100%. I mean, it's like we're paying these 2 Americans. Like one guy, he's a white kid from Florida. He's like half Albanian. And then, this kid from New Jersey, black guy, and he makes every Hungarian player just look like your little kid brother, pretty much. That's how I view it.
Would they all admit that too? That they're very thankful?
Oh, 100%. Oh, 100%. Like they would say like, well, and it's like, no, guys, let's be honest. There's a reason we're paying them.
I got you, man. Well, it sounds exciting. 11-6. That just sounds like such a baseball score.
It was so weird. And speaking of baseball,
yeah, we are talking a lot of baseball today. Yeah, great segue there, unintentionally. But we're over a quarter of the way through MLB season, Ben.
We are.
As everybody knows, the All-Star game is at the halfway point in July. So we're going to go ahead and give our projections, or at least our picks at this point for the All-Star game, who we would vote for American League and National League at all the positions. Some of these picks, Ben, were pretty easy for me to make, but then there were some other ones where it's like there's 3 or 4 guys I feel like got arguments for some of their spots.
Oh, for sure.
And I'm also curious how much of your Reds bias for certain players might come into play here. And
I can tell you it's not going to be a bias, because if you look at the stats of most of these guys, they suck. So I'm not going to go into
there were 1
mode.
or 2 that I thought you might be able to sneak in.
There's 2 that for sure made my list.
Okay. And I got a handful of Cleveland guys, but do you want to start in the National League?
Yeah, I'll start in the National League.
National League. Okay, we can go infield and then
do you want to start with catcher? Do we start catcher? Is that where we're going? Is that how we're doing this?
That's kind of how I saw it, like going like
catcher
in order,
first,
like catcher first, second, third, short.
Okay, let's do it.
outfield.
Do you
Yeah.
want me to go? Let's go one by one. Let's do one by one because that way we can
Yeah.
explain. So for
Yeah.
catcher, I think in the NL it's pretty easy. Maybe that's just me, but I think Contreras from Milwaukee is probably having the best year as a catcher, at least hitting wise. I mean, he's hitting 359. He has 13 doubles. He has 6 home runs, 34 RBIs. He's got an on base percentage of 430, slugging of 553, a WAR of 2.4, and an OPS of nearly 1,000. When I look at All Star, I think that a lot of times the voter, especially fans, because we're voting, we look at stats, like who's just smashing the stats. And I look like Will Smith. Will Smith, he's another guy that was up there that I thought of. Diaz from Colorado. Um, Real Muto is always up there, but it's like his numbers maybe not as great as you would like to see, obviously, offensively. But you just look at Contreras, and it's just like, for me, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it was the same for me. William Contreras, Milwaukee Brewers.
359 is
Not even a
ridiculous.
question. Yeah,
Because
like
let's be
he's
honest,
leading.
compared to a Reds and Guardians catchers who never hit over like 212,
Yeah.
it's very impressive.
Yeah, the other thing with Contreras too is he's not just like leading catchers in almost all these categories. He's top 5 or top 10
Yeah,
in almost
exactly.
all those categories that you listed. Just knocking the cover off the ball. So that was for me. Yeah, I thought about Will Smith too, and I thought before the season started, the way that Dodgers are
I
playing, that
mean,
he'd
maybe
probably be my
overall,
pick.
like maybe by the end of the year, I would say like Will Smith's the best catcher still in baseball. But like, I just think I think Contreras just is been so consistent, and that's the thing I
For
think in
sure.
catchers is you have to have a consistent catcher offensively.
Yeah. The 2.4 WAR too
That's crazy,
would
dude.
signify to me
That's
that
crazy, man.
he's playing good defensively
Yes.
too. That's top 10 in the league too. So
Yeah.
yeah, William Contreras, National League catcher, easy for me.
Yes. Oh, first base, right? First base for National League. First base. This one, I hate first base because it's so like it's such a weird position because you don't really care about the defense. I mean, I hate to say that, but let's be honest. No one really cares about the defense at
Not
first base.
usually, yeah.
Um, but I think for me, it's pretty easy. It's Freddie Freeman. I mean, unless we're just like trying to look around, like Cronenworth he's been all right. Like I think he's been decent, but again, first off, there's no first baseman in the major leagues that are sitting over 300, which I thought is fascinating to me.
Very
You always use
interesting,
the
yeah.
one. Um, Bryce Harper was on the edge of this, but again, I think Bryce is just I think he's right off the edge. I just think you look at the numbers. I mean, there's not many guys that are over one WAR. I mean, Walker has probably been the best defensively from the Diamondbacks because he has about a 2 WAR. But I just look at Freeman overall. I think he just gives you the most consistent bat, and I think he just deserves to be another All Star starter.
Yeah, Freeman's definitely got a case. He's collecting all the hits, like you said, but I actually am going the Bryce Harper way, just
Interesting.
because, yeah, amongst first basemen, so he is second in all of baseball for first baseman in OPS. He is second in slugging percentage, and he's also second in home runs and RBIs.
Yeah.
So that was enough for me. I know that Freddie's probably got 40 points on as far as the batting average goes, but it seems like Bryce is making his hits count a little bit more so. And I don't know if that's just because of where they hit in the order or if what that really has to do with anything. Because Freeman usually is a guy that can get you around 30 homers, 100 RBIs, but right now Bryce is getting all the like the runs
Well,
driven in, all the big plays. So I'm leaning Bryce, but I understand arguments for Freeman or even
well,
Christian Walker,
as
honestly.
listen, as a Reds fan, I thought Encarcio Strand was supposed to be the next guy, but he's hurt and he was hitting like 185 when he got hurt. I'm not, I'm not too sure that losing Joey Votto, as much as I was saying I hated the contract, like, I mean, he at least did get on base. He did hit, and that's what the Reds are missing. So maybe they can figure that
Hmm.
out. But
Yeah.
anyways, that's first baseman. Second baseman. This one, this one's weird.
Yeah, second base is
Uh,
always like an interesting
it's just
spot.
I don't know how do you judge second base because like you could go the defensive route, which I'm this pick is more defensive. I think it's more of a combination of the two for me. or he could just go with a freaking flat out bat that just can rake, right? Um, but I'm gonna have to go with Marte from the Diamondbacks. I think his WAR is literally almost 3 runs, um, which is, I mean, if you look at all the second basemen, I mean, even in the American League, like he's like a point better than everyone outside of Simeon, who's a 2.5, who's also a freak defensively. And I think Marte, he's hitting 290. He's got 9 home runs, 24 RBIs, like 9 home runs for a second baseman this far into the year already. You don't see that very often. You know, Brandon Phillips was known to do it. Chase Utley maybe was known to do it, but there wasn't like, and Simeon obviously as well can hit some bombs, but that's been impressive. He also has his on base is not as impressive, but his OPS is 871, 533 slugging. So for me, Kentel Marte from the Diamondbacks for me is that second baseman.
That's where I'm going to. Like you mentioned with the WAR, leads all
Which
second
is
basemen. It's
crazy,
like
dude.
nearly a whole win ahead
Terang
of the
was
next
close
in
though.
National League.
Terang was close for me because of just his speed and the way he gets on base. That was
Yeah.
the very close second for me.
Stott was another one from Philly that I
Yeah.
was looking
Former
at,
third
but
baseman that has moved to second base, which is very fascinating.
yeah. Other stats that I like that you kind of mentioned too. Marte leads National League second baseman in OPS. Also has the 9 home runs, which is first amongst them, and then third in RBIs, just a couple
You,
behind
and you know
Stott.
what I want to see? You want to see, Josh? I want to see a second baseman rake like 50 bombs. I just want to see it one time. Just like a second baseman's hitting like 50 home runs, 180 RBIs. Just I want to see it. I think it'd just be fun. Because growing up, if you played second base, like the coach basically told you sucked at hitting and you were not very good fielder. You just didn't have any
Not
arm.
strong enough of an arm to play third.
Exactly.
Not enough range
Couldn't
to
really
play
hit.
shortstop.
Couldn't really
Yeah,
hit. It's like
that's
the
funny.
right field of the infield.
The right field and infield, yeah, just that whole side. Um, yeah, so Ketel Marte are both in agreement on that. Third base, what do you like
Oh,
for that?
this one was fun for me because there's a lot of dudes I could have chose. I love third base because it's one of those where you can just choose any dude that's raking, and at that moment in time. For me though, oh, my heart wanted to go Nolan Arenado. Like just because it's like, and he's not the same for sure. Like he's definitely not, and he also plays on a really crappy team. Um, I would love to say Candelario, but no. Um, so I'm gonna go with Alex Bohm. Alec Bohm. I mean, he's hitting 333. He's got 16 doubles, which, dude, we're like in May. He's already got 16. He's gonna have 50 doubles this year. He doesn't have a lot of home runs, but he does have 35 RBIs. He doesn't strike out a ton. He doesn't walk a lot, but he doesn't strike out a lot either. He has 400 on base percentage, almost 930 OPS, and a 2 WAR. So for me, Alec Bohm.
Yeah, Bohm's like top five, top 10 in the league in some of these categories, but for third baseman specifically, first in WAR, he is first in OPS, first, yeah, first in OPS, second in slugging percentage. Also, I believe he doesn't have as many home runs, but he is driving in a lot of runs. So, like those extra base hits are counting second amongst all third basemen and RBIs, first in total bases. So he's getting around. Alec Bohm was a pretty easy decision for me over here.
Yeah. And then shortstop, I have to have every team at least gets one guy. So for me, like, look, it's for sure Mookie Betts, but I'm sorry. I can't help but put Ella De La Cruz. Like I know he's kind of slumping right now. Like he's down to 260. He was like at 290 for most of April, I think. But he's kind of hit a slump. But the Reds have all hit a slump. By the way, they're the worst hitting team in baseball. They're hitting like 207 as a team. I'm sorry. How are you hitting 207 as a
Wow.
team? Is bad. Um, but Ellie's got like, and this is what's crazy. Now he has struck out like I think the most right now, or he's like in the top 5 of strikeouts, which we all knew was coming. Like it's Ellie, but he does have 26 stolen bases. He does get on base. He does hit with power. Like, dude, the dude's on pace for like 100 stolen bases this year. And I just think that especially by the time July comes, I mean, he could have 60 stolen bases by then. And there's just something about having Ellie in the All Star game. Like, if you don't have him, I feel like you're missing this like force of positivity in the game of baseball.
Yeah, like Elliott's making the exciting plays, right? The home
Oh,
runs
for
and the
sure.
stolen bases. He's just not doing much anywhere else. And it's like, gosh dang it, Mookie Betts, why'd you have to move to shortstop? Why couldn't you just be in the outfield and make
I
this
know it.
like
Dude's got a
an easier
3.4
selection,
WAR,
you
dude.
know? But I
Dude,
gotta go Mookie. I
3 point.
wanted to go Ellie here, but Mookie's got nearly double the
I
WAR.
mean,
He's got almost
I think
200
we
extra
both can
points in
agree though.
OPS.
I think we both can agree though that Ellie is going to make the All-Star team in
He's gonna
some
be on as a
fashion
reserve. Yeah, he's
for
gonna be on
sure.
as like a reserve shortstop. Maybe him and Trey Turner will be those two guys, but yeah, I wanted Ellie on here, but Mookie Betts, it's the easy choice. It's the obvious choice. And I hate
I mean,
that he's
Trey
at
Turner is
shortstop
competing
because
though.
there's so many good shortstops.
You know what's honestly weird is that Trey Turner only has 9 RBIs this year, which is really weird. Like
It
he only
is,
has
yeah.
9 RBIs, which is just odd, but it is what it is. And isn't it crazy that Ellie has 26 stolen bases? Like the next guy in the major leagues is 17. Like he's got 9 more stolen bases than the
Hmm.
Reds. He has more stolen bases, I think I saw, than I think it's the Cardinals or something like that have attempts or something like that. It's ridiculous. Like I'm just
That
like
is crazy, yeah.
wild. Anyways, that's shortstop, left field.
I didn't really
Josh,
go left, right, center. I
you
just
just went
picked three
outfield.
outfielders. Yeah.
Ooh, ooh, yeah. Okay, I'll just go
However,
outfields. No, I'm gonna go outfielders because I kind of have a couple that popped in my head as I was going through this. I
okay.
never thought I would say this guy ever in an all-star starting lineup, but I'm gonna go Jerkson Profar. Like the man he's hitting 324. He's got 7 home runs, 29 RBIs. He's got a 416 on base percentage. Like who would have thought Jerkson Profar would be the guy? But yep, Jerkson Profar for me is
Hmm.
one. Second one for me, again, it gets a little shady after this because I didn't really know where to go after this. Um,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna have to go with, and again, I want to do Spencer Steer here so bad, but
This is the other guy that I thought you might put in.
but I can't put him in because his average is so bad right now. He's only got 4 home runs. He does have 29 RBIs, which is actually really good. Um, so I ended up deciding to keep him off. Acuna as well. I'm keeping off because he's having a terrible start to the year.
Yeah,
Like, just
never would have thought
awful.
that our preseason number
Um,
one player in the league.
but I'm gonna have to go. To be honest, I'm gonna have to go Merrill from San Diego as well. Like I didn't think I was going to go 2 San Diego dudes, but he's
Yeah.
also been really solid as a young guy. He's been really solid. And then I can't believe that I'm choosing a Pittsburgh Pirate, but I'm going to go Connor Joe because
Ooh.
if you look at his numbers, I mean, he's 10 doubles, 286, 6 home runs, 22 RBIs, 867 on base percent. Sorry, OPS. I just think it's a little bit easier that way. So that's what I'm going to go with. Those are the three that I'm going with.
Yeah, I mean, those are it is interesting looking at the outfield because I think I'm picking guys that I would have never guessed either. But
Yeah.
I'm with you on Jurickson Profar. The
He's
numbers are
raking, dude.
definitely there. For right field, or also in the outfield, I'm actually going with Teoscar Hernandez from the
Oh yeah, I didn't think
Dodgers.
about that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The average is a little low at 249, but he's got 11 home runs, which is sixth in the league, and 36 RBIs, which is third. So the power output's definitely there. And if I can go with like any combination of three outfielders, I'm gonna go with a different De La Cruz from the Marlins, Brian De La Cruz. But if it has to be a left, right, and center, I got a left and a right. I'd probably go Jackson Merrill. But Brian
Yeah.
De La Cruz hitting 256, so yeah, lower on the average side, but 9 home runs, 24 RBIs. It's high, pretty high amongst the other outfield picks. But yeah, I'm going De La Cruz, Profar,
It's just a
and
weird.
Hernandez there.
It's
Yeah,
just a
three
weird
guys that's
outfield
like,
this
what the
year.
heck is this?
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. But
weird outfield.
they deserve it.
Ooh, should we
Do you
go
have a starting
pitching?
pitcher?
Oh yes, I
Yeah,
do
I
have.
do have
I
a
do have.
starting pitcher.
Yes, I do. I do. And this one was for me so easy, and I just think it's fun because it's not the Japanese guy we thought was going to be the stud in the National League. And I'm going to mess up his name, but his name is I think it's Imanaga. Imanaga. I
Shota Imanaga, I
I'm
think
gonna
is how
go
you
with
say
it.
it.
I'm gonna go with it. This
Okay.
dude is listen to this. This dude has 5 quality starts. He's 5-0 with an 0.96 ERA. I'm sorry. By the way, that's what's even crazier is that there's the next two dudes after him are both in the National League with both 150 or under
Hmm.
ERAs, which is just it's a crazy thing. But for a rookie to come in here and do what he's doing is absolutely phenomenal, and he's easy for me the starter.
Yeah, that is a good one, and I like the pick there. I actually went Ranger Suarez
He's 7 and
first in
0.
yeah, 7 and
Jeez.
0, first in whip at .72, which is very elite. 150 ERA, which is third. 55 strikeouts, which is like more down in like top 15, top 20 area. But yeah, Amaniga's a great pick from the Cubs. Suarez, I think you can make a case for Tyler Glass now. 6-1, 253 ERA, 73 Ks, which is first, and then the .86 whip, which is fourth. But
I guess we didn't pick a designated hitter, but I think we both think Shohei Ohtani for the designated hitter role
oh
for the
yeah, I didn't even I
I
did write down Shohei on my list. I guess I just like missed his
yeah,
name
I
here, but
mean
yeah,
the dude's raking.
Marcelo Zuna's also kind of raking, but I mean, Shohei Ohtani's ahead of him in
Dude,
like all the
also,
categories.
isn't it funny that Shohei has 12 home runs but only 30 RBIs? I just think it's really funny. It's like a Rafael Soriano. Do you remember when Rafael no, Alonso
Alfonso Soriano?
Alfonso Soriano. Remember when he had that season with the Nationals where he had 48 home runs and 95 RBIs? Like the weirdest stat line of all time. He almost hit
That's
50 bombs, and
it's very Mike Trout-esque.
that is 100% Mike Trout esque. All right. Now we're going
Yeah,
to
the American.
the American League. And for me,
There's three
I,
or four catchers
oh,
here that
yeah, I
are
know, dude.
playing good baseball right now.
But I think it's very obvious if we really truly think about it. And maybe it's not for you, but I'm going with my man, Perez from the Royals. He's a veteran. I feel like he's very undervalued, I think, in the league because Salvador Perez, because of like what he has done over his career. If you look at like the all-time Royals records, like he's all in it. And the dude's in 325. He's got 8 home runs, 33 RBIs, almost a 940 OPS. Now his WAR is a little lower than Rutschman, but look, and the dude's like 34. Like this is what this dude's doing
Mhm.
at his age. Like I'm gonna take that any day of the week.
Yeah, Rutschman from the Orioles and then Jeffers from the Twins, I think are both guys that got arguments too. But I'm with you on Salvador Perez. The 325 average is ninth in all of baseball. The 8 home runs, 33 RBIs. 33 RBIs is tied sixth in all baseball right now. So it
And
seems like
as we know,
Salvador Perez has been the catcher for the Royals, I'm pretty sure my whole
yep,
entire
that's
life.
true. And you know what's crazy is that Josh is that the Reds or the Guardians will never see a catcher hit 325 ever. It's
They'll never
just
see a
not.
catcher hit 300
It's just
or
not a.
200.
It's just not a DNA thing for the either team. Um,
Not a priority, yeah. But Salvador's been consistent and again this season, just one of the best hitters in baseball.
you know,
It's got to be the pick.
now we go to first base. Again, not really great numbers from a lot of guys. The wars aren't the greatest, which just shows you how bad of feeling these teams are. I mean, there's so many dudes in the top 18 that have negative war because their fielding just sucks. And but I'm this one's easy for me, and I think you're gonna be shocked when I say this, but I'm gonna go Josh Naylor.
Not
Um,
shocked.
the man is raking. Now I could have went Guerrero, but I think his home runs are down a lot. Actually, he's only got 19 RBIs, like really weird. His stat line. Mountcastle also weird. 6 home runs, 18 RBIs. Like the dude's played 38 games, just weird. So I'm gonna go Naylor. I think it's pretty easy for me.
Yeah, Naylor among first basemen is first in home runs. He's first in RBIs. He is, I believe, yes, first in slugging percentage, first in OPS, and he's third in WAR. All first basemen in all the leagues. So yeah, it's a very obvious pick. I thought Josh Naylor got snubbed last year as a starter, but I think it's time to start acknowledging him as just one of the best hitters in baseball. And
And
Cleveland better extend this man.
oh no, remember Josh, what they do is remember the Guardians like to trade these guys for like dudes that they thought were gonna be good. And then like, they're like 25-year-old minor leaguers. That's what the Reds and
Yeah,
the
like
Guardians do,
what's his name? Kyle Manzardo. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. Guy that everyone in Cleveland's very excited to see. And I'm like, he's 25 years old and he's just now getting to the show. we could have traded this guy. We could have traded a
I
lot
feel
of
like
prospects for Juan Soto to be on this team right now.
I really feel like Josh is that the Reds and the Guardians just have this like teammate, like this team identity of like, let's hype the fans up so high with like an all-star player. In your case, Ramirez, the Reds, Votto. But let's never build around them. Let's just make it so painfully hard for any fan base to just join in on us.
Man,
I
I was
feel
just
like
gonna
that's
say
what
we
it is.
extended Ramirez, we extended Andres Jimenez. Why can't we extend Naylor?
Like I've
But
been begging them to just to do what the Braves do and just extend Ellie De La Cruz. Lock him up for 10 years. Just lock him up.
yes.
And like, doesn't matter if you overpay right now. Like, dude, the dude's gonna be a freak for a very long time.
Hmm.
Lock him up. But it is what it is. But second baseman, this one
Second base.
is easy for
Easy.
me, and that is Altuve, and it's not even close. He might only
Jose
have 7 home
Altuve.
runs. He might only have 14 RBIs, but Jose Altuve, he's old, and somehow he's still the best second baseman, probably
In
in
all of
baseball.
baseball.
To be honest
Yeah,
with
I'd
you,
go all of baseball.
he's 5'6" and he rakes like he hits bombs at 5'6".
Yep, he
If
can hit
you
home runs.
can you imagine the torque that comes out of his body, like just the twist and the torque that he can just rip a bat and hit a ball so far? It's phenomenal. Now
Yeah.
Simon was very close, or Simeon. Simeon was
Simeon.
very very close because of his defense, but I think it's just too hard to go against Altuve.
Yeah.
Oh,
Ooh, third base.
this is just not fair. Um,
Not fair.
I mean, I guess okay, maybe I'm changing my mind now. I had someone and now I think I'm
Well, I'm
changing
gonna
my
go ahead and lead off with mine.
go ahead.
Uh, it's another boy from Cleveland named Jose Ramirez that we were just talking about. And I know everybody's going to point to the 247 batting average and be like, Josh, how can you do that?
Does only have a 297 on base percentage though, which is
Yeah, so he's
really
also
rough,
not getting
dude.
on by walks either. So Jose's not exactly getting on base, but the guys that are on base when he comes up to bat, he is bringing home because he's second in all of baseball in RBIs with 37. Currently top 15 in
297
home
on base
runs
percentage.
as
That's
well.
shocking to me.
Yeah. You don't usually see that from Jose, but somehow still second amongst all third basemen in total bases. So when he is getting hits again, they're not just singles. He's getting around all four or he's getting to second base, it seems like. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and go with Jose. I think that Westberg from the Orioles is probably going to be the popular option, but Jose is still making big plays even with the low batting average.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna go with Westberg. I think Westberg just has that kind of he's one of those young core of that the Baltimore Orioles have, and I think Westberg has proven to be a very reliable defensive third baseman. I mean, he has the second best WAR, and I think it's obvious. I think for that, and I think me and you both know that if you don't have a good defensive third baseman, your life could be miserable as a pitcher,
Hmm.
especially against some good right-handers. So I'm going to go Westberg here.
Now
Oh,
we get to shortstop.
this is
And
easy for me. This was
this
easy
was
for
easy
me.
for you. Okay. Well,
Easy.
before you say yours, uh, I think Gunnar Henderson, Bobby Witt, Jeremy Pena
Yeah, there's a
are
lot, but it was
all
for me. It was pretty easy though.
all right.
Should I
Uh,
go?
I rolled with Bobby Witt. Who are you going with?
Bobby Witt. I like it,
Okay.
dude. To me, dude, Bobby Witt is the best shortstop outside of Mookie Betts right now in baseball.
He might be.
Like you could say Trey Turner, but like I think Trey Turner is very like I don't want to say one dimensional because he's an all star,
The
but I
defense
think
is below average for
yes.
Trey.
But like Bobby Witt, if you see the plays he makes on defense, it is
Yeah. There all the
some other
time.
level,
Yeah.
dude. It's some other level, and he can rake. It's and like he steals bases. He has 15 stolen bases. Like I think it's very rare to see a guy who can hit, you know, who easily could have a 40-40 season every single year if he wants to. You know, him and Ellie are about the only two guys right now at shortstop that I think could have a 40-40 season every year if they wanted to.
Yeah, the power output isn't there from Bobby. 5 home runs, 21 RBIs, but he is leading all American League shortstops with WAR
He
at
also has
three,
5 triples,
five
which is
triples. Yeah, so
impressive as well.
he's fast. It just goes to show the speed again. Uh, Third amongst all shortstops in OPS at 875. He's hitting just under 300 at 298. And yeah, I'm all about Bobby Witt. All around, really solid shortstop. Should be starting for the American League, I think.
Oh, for sure. Now, outfielders for me, this
Hmm.
was easy. Number one was easy for me. Stephen Kwan, my guy. As much as I'm a Reds fan, I've just loved watching Stephen Kwan since he entered the league. He's just been fun to watch. And he is like your prototypical, I don't want to say slap hitter because that's disrespectful, but he reminds me of like a slap hitter, a
He ain't
guy
hitting
that's just
anything out
gonna,
of the yard, dude.
yeah,
So yeah,
like a guy who's just going to like,
guy that hits,
he's going to
just
just hit
hits,
it the
gets
other
on base.
way.
Yep.
He's going to slap it down the third base line, get a double out of it. He's going to, I mean, he's only struck out 11 times, walked only 11 times, by the way, which is also kind of bad. But he's just, he's that guy when you watch an MLB game and you're like, are we sure that this guy's an MLB player? Like you just look at him and you're like, he looks like a tax accountant. And yet he can rake. So you know what? Maybe you have tax accounts out there, Trey Barnes. Maybe just maybe you could be an MLB player one day. Who knows?
Yeah, Kwan's the easy one for me too. For all the reasons that you said, just a good hitter. Like he's not hitting anything out of the park or over the fence, but he's getting on base. He's very good at that. Starting off most innings for Cleveland with being able to have a guy on base for guys like Jose to be able to bring him home, or Naylor eventually when the
Yeah.
four guy comes up. It's like, yeah, that's setting the tone and putting those guys in positions where they can do what they do best. So yeah,
Yeah.
Kwan's an easy pick for me for outfield too.
Uh, Soto for me is number two. I think when you have 29 walks and you've only struck out 25 times, that's impressive alone. He now is the fastest ever to, I think he has the most walks ever for a guy under the age of 26 or under going into that, age 26 season. And he like, he's just, he's so weird and raw and the way he plays is just so smooth. I think Guardians fans are kicking themselves the fact that they could have had him in a Guardians jersey, yet they
They
blew
are
it.
not kicking themselves. I am the only Guardians fan kicking himself
Well, that's
about it
true. And
still
let's be
to this
honest,
day.
though, I don't think anybody believes he stands a New York Yankee after this year. I think a lot of people, I think he'll go somewhere else. He'll probably end up with the Dodgers. Let's be honest. Like, let's be honest. This is what's going to happen. It's
That's
just gonna,
crazy to think that the Yankees could be outbid for somebody like that, man. They better
true, though.
not.
But, anyways,
Yeah.
for me,
Soto
Soto.
for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Soto's like top three in OPS, top three in on base percentage for outfield. Uh, Hitting the ball. Yeah. Getting on base with the walks. OBP merchant over there. Yeah. The Yankees got to do everything they can to keep this guy over here because dude's elite. And for the price of Kyle Manzardo and Brayan Rocchio and maybe a couple other unproven prospects, I think he would have been a great fit in the Cleveland outfield too with Stephen Kwan, but it's too bad. It was definitely a huge missed opportunity. Even though we wouldn't have been able to re-sign him, 3 seasons of Juan Soto. Now with Josh Naylor, with Jose Ramirez, with Stephen Kwan, it would have been incredible to watch. And
I would have
it's
loved
like,
him in Cincinnati. I think he would have raked in Cincinnati. In that field, he would have raked.
yeah,
Um,
it's just it sucks. It was a huge missed opportunity. But yeah, Juan Soto, easy outfield pick in the
uh,
American League. And then
number
my third one is
third.
Kyle
Oh,
Tucker.
I was going to say King Tucker. That was my third. King Tucker.
Yeah,
King
yeah, all the
Tucker.
all the power numbers are right there. 278's a good enough average for me, but yeah, 13 homers, 29 RBIs. The 997 OPS leads all outfield, and I think also his 2.5 WAR also leads all outfield too.
Can we also talk about Tyler O'Neill, who has 10 home runs and 16 RBIs?
Yeah, that's even more Mike Trout-esque.
That is just awful. Like that. Like, how do you feel as a player when you're like, "Hey, I had 10 home runs so far this year. I've only driven in 16 dudes." Like
Mike Trout, by the way, 10 home runs, 14 RBIs.
that just. And Aaron Judge is like struggling average wise.
Very
Um,
much so. Yeah, we thought that or a lot of people thought Soto coming in would help Judge out a little bit. The power's still there from Judge. It's good enough power. It's not the power that we're used to seeing from him, but it's still there. And then the average, yeah, way down. So I'm not sure what's going on with Judge over there, but that's a guy I would have thought we'd be putting on this list.
what about for DH? Do you have one for DH or not?
Yeah, there's not really like too many like set DH guys in the American League
Stanton's
like
where I
there
was
is
going to go
with
with.
National League. but
Stanton was kind of like where I was headed with it.
I just picked a guy that like I really want to be there because I like him. Adolis Garcia.
Oh, I guess that one's a good one too. Yeah, didn't think about that one.
Yeah, I don't. He is playing right field. I don't know how they do exactly the DH if they are going to pick somebody that is a set in stone DH all the time because the American League only has a handful of qualified DHs that have played the DH enough. They don't have a lot that do it every day. They kind of mix it up. Even in Cleveland, like Jose sometimes DH, Naylor sometimes DH. But yeah, I just picked a bat that I liked that has some good power. That's got some aura to him. That's solid all around. So I went with the Adolis Garcia, but there's probably a
Yeah.
million guys that you could pick right here.
Well, my starting pitcher, I had a couple names. I had Scuball, I had Blanco from Houston, and then I had Seth Lugo, and I decided to go with Seth Lugo because who wouldn't go with a Kansas City Royal to start an All-Star game? Like, but the dude has a 6-1 record, a 1.66 ERA. He has an 0.96 whip, a he doesn't strike out like a ton of dudes every game, but he just gets the job done. And to me, I think that's what you need is a guy who can go out there and get the job done every single night. And I think that's what Seth Lugo does.
That's what I was like trying to decide is like, okay, I know the strikeouts are a little low, but he's
He
getting
gets the
guys
job done,
out,
man.
which is all that matters. He's getting the job done somehow. Yeah. So I'm also with you on Seth Lugo as my starting pitcher for the American League.
Love it.
Yeah,
You love it
there's some
just like the
solid
guard, just like the
lineups right there.
Guardians, just like the Guardian City Connect. You love it.
Dude, the City Connect, yeah, let me talk about that a little bit because I don't think that they really connected it to the city
No, they did not.
as much as what they say they did. I think that when I think of Cleveland, I think of the Rock and Roll Hall, I think
Yep.
of the Great Lakes, Lake Erie.
Yep.
I think of the color green. It's on a lot of the architecture over there. I think of the land, which is the nickname, and none of that appeared on any of these jerseys.
Nope.
Uh, we still are very much leaning into like the Guardian statues, which I don't even think most people in Cleveland knew. I didn't know they existed until they changed the name. And it's like, okay, now we're just like leaning in. This is like this new city identity now. That's where they went with a lot with like the texture and like the color of the Clee on the front and stuff. But yeah, they just kind of, they almost went throwback, but not all the way with the stripes. They almost went
Went
like cool
alternate.
alternate, but not quite.
Just so
The
sad,
hat's
man.
like bare minimum effort to them.
It's like they
So,
went to like a middle school and said like design me a jersey. Like give
okay,
me
that's
your
more
best.
so like the everyday like Guardians logo is what they did with
That is
that.
true,
But
actually.
these uniforms themselves as a standalone, I think they're fine. I would actually like these much more as our everyday jerseys. But for a City Connect, they don't
You gotta
really
you gotta
connect
add
to the
something
city
for
all
the
that much to me.
city.
Yeah.
Like I feel like Cincy, that's what they do for the Reds. Like Cincy, it's black, it's all black, it's like red. And if you look at Cincy at night, it's guess the way it kind of looks. It's not really a bright city. And I feel like they kind of that grit to Cincinnati. And I think that's what made that so cool of a jersey.
Yeah, yeah. There's a handful of City Connect jerseys that I think that they got right, and then this is just one that they didn't. But I'm not opposed to it being our new everyday jersey, if that makes sense.
It might just be up there with the mustard colored Boston Red Sox one. It's just gross. It's just
Not very appealing, are they?
no.
That's pretty much everything as far as baseball goes, though, Ben.
Yes.
I don't think we have much
Not much
else to
more really,
discuss
no.
there. We got our lineups there. Football wise, though, the NFL announced Christmas Day games
This
are going to
is
be streamed on Netflix, which I
so
know you were
awesome.
excited about.
Yes, because Josh, you don't realize the pain that it is to watch a football game in Europe. It's very hard. Either you watch it on cable network when it's in another language, or you have to go to certain areas of the streaming world that you can watch a game. I don't want to get canceled.
Understood.
You know what I'm saying. And
Yes. If you
but
know,
the
you
only
know.
thing now, as we're talking about this, I'm thinking Hungary's like Netflix is weird because every country has a different like.
They have a different library.
So this is the thing. Like I can watch like right now in Hungary, I can watch NCIS. Like I think it's like 7 seasons. But if you go to America, you can only watch certain other seasons. It's really weird and it's really annoying. So my fear is that I'm gonna hype myself up for this, and then it's gonna come to Christmas Day and it's gonna be like, sorry, um, you can't watch it.
Get you a VPN, I guess.
Yeah, I mean I have one, which is great, but it's also like
I shouldn't need this.
I shouldn't. So
Yeah,
yes, I am hyped up about it though.
Christmas Day, Netflix announced we will have Pittsburgh Steel or Kansas City Chiefs at Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens at the Houston Texans.
At least I get
Streaming
CJ
across the
Stroud.
network.
So, but I will say this though, the the Browns' first game against the Cowboys will be Tom Brady's first game broadcasting, which I don't know how to feel about. You know, don't know how to feel about it, but it is what it is.
Yeah, what's your anticipation, I guess, for Tom Brady as in the press box? Actually, we've seen some former quarterbacks like Tony
I,
Romo come in here and like instantly entertain and
I might be really
do very
odd on
well.
this. I might be very like I might be very alone on this, but I don't think Tom Brady's very enjoyable to listen to. I'm sorry that sounds so mean, but his voice is just not like engaging. I don't think he really has like a ability to like I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if that makes sense, Josh, but like I feel
He
like there's
doesn't have
some
the charisma, is what I
yeah,
think you're
like I
saying.
feel like Tony Romo adds that excitement. He adds the extra obviously knowledge, but then adds the actual like skill set behind it. And maybe it's just me, but every time I listen to Tom, I'm just like, "Hmm, sounds like a guy that won a bunch of Super Bowls. That's what it sounds like."
I don't know if I'd go that hard on Tom, but I do agree that there doesn't seem to be as much energy and not as much captivation when you hear him speak. But I think as far as like film, like preparation was something he was so good at. Like he could just see things on film. And I think watching the game from up in the press box and being able to like watch replays and do all like the circling stuff and kind of calling what kind of play we might be getting ready to see, I think he's going to be good at all that kind of stuff. I guess it's just going to be a matter of if he's going to be fun to listen to or not. But I think as far as like understanding the game and being able to add insight, uh, there's some guys that clearly can't do that. And I think that's going to be something he might be the best at in all of TV once he gets set in.
I will say though, it was very funny during his roast. And if you haven't watched his roast, it's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Um, I do think it's interesting that he comes out afterwards and says, I don't think I would do it again. And I think he realizes, and he's like, my kids felt uncomfortable. I'm like, well, duh. Well,
Yeah.
Tom, what do you think when you put a bunch of comedians in one room to roast the crap out of you? Of course. Um, so for me, that was just like a classic Tom Brady move. But
Yeah. One other funny football thing that I saw online was I guess Malik Neighbors and Jaden Daniels had a $10,000 bet on winning Offensive Rookie of the Year, and one day into camp, Malik called it off. Is Daniel Jones that bad of a quarterback that he just lost belief in his ability to win the Rookie of the Year?
no, I think he realized that he was about to get fined and or suspended. I think that's what transpired because technically they could be technically considering like betting against themselves in a game or like for themselves in a game, if that makes sense.
That, yeah, I didn't think about that because this one wasn't like on a sports book. It wasn't like they're betting against themselves, like they're betting on themselves. So it's not going to lead to them like sucking in any way or throwing
True.
games. But yeah, that actually might play a little bit more into it too.
Or just the fact that Daniel Jones sucks.
Yeah,
That's also
it
the
could
other.
be two things true at once, kind of a thing.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's very interesting. And also, I thought it was very interesting too. Speaking of the NFL, I've been following like the Browns like social media team on YouTube. It's very interesting how they fit like these dudes' helmets. Can I just say that NFL defense and offensive linemen have huge heads? Like the helmets that they give
DeJuan
these
Jones
kids are
has a
just
huge head.
it's literally like twice the size of my head, and it's just a massive helmet. And I just think it's very fascinating to me.
Yeah. One of the most fascinating things to me as far as like that goes, just looking at DeJuan Jones putting like an NFL helmet, I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's head's huge. This helmet looks like it's skin tight on him.
Imagine his shoulders, like putting pads on that guy. Like it's just not possible. Just put pillows on him and duct tape him, you know?
Just not. Before we end the show, Ben, I did want to share some exciting news for Gator Nation.
Of
Maybe.
course. Of course.
We are getting Cormani McLean, the #1 corner from last year's class, and from Colorado, and some of that Louis luggage that Deanne was talking about is coming down to Gainesville. So very cool, very exciting get for us.
Lost luggage ends up, different locations all the time, Sometimes you just have to have a little lost luggage to get some hopes up. See a cool bag and makes you feel good.
Yeah, Cormani McLean's that cool bag that you're like, I know there's like some good stuff in this. I'm not even gonna open it up and see. I know it's not mine, but I know somebody's got like thousands of dollars of stuff in here, and I'm just gonna grab it and run.
As a Gator fan, and I'm very curious about this, Josh. Do you ever just not get hyped for a season anymore? Like, do you ever just like go into a season now and just like, it's probably gonna be the same old, same old? Like, are you at that point now where you're
That
like,
was that was me last year. So yeah, it's setting in, and I'm just at this point like Billy Napier. You got to do something to show that the team's getting better because the schedule's not getting any easier, and I'm not sure that the
no.
record is necessarily going to reflect getting better. But just from watching the games and seeing like I guess how we're losing games, like is there competition there? Is there incompetent offensive play? Like how are we losing these games?
Yeah.
See is reasonable expectations, but the way that I mean we got Texas and Oklahoma coming into the conference now, it's not getting any easier.
Yeah, that's true. Also, if you're listening to this and there was a half moment of silence, because internet's lovely. So
Mm.
I'm not gonna edit that. We're just gonna leave that out. So whatever you heard Josh say, no one really cared. Um, the internet was just like, I don't care anymore.
Then it was like, all right, they're on the Gator segment, just stop.
Let's just stop working. Um, do you feel, and this is a poll question that I want to ask you, and maybe in the comments below you can answer this as well if you're listening or watching. Do you feel that on college football 25 video game, you could have a better record with Florida Gators than in real life with the way the
Than in
roster
real
is right now?
life.
Like if you played on the hardest difficulty, like the hardest you could play, do you feel like you could have more success than what's going to happen this year?
Well, I was just gonna pull up the schedule so I could read it to you so that we could maybe answer that question for ourselves here. So I know week 1 we're playing Miami in Gainesville. We got Samford, scheduled win. Texas A&M, that is in Gainesville as well. We got Miss State at Starkville. We got UCF in Gainesville. We got at Tennessee. We're hosting Kentucky. Georgia, obviously, halfway in Jacksonville. We got to go to Texas. We get to host LSU. We get to host Ole Miss. And then we go to Florida State. Dude, talk about a stretch. Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, Florida State. Is that 7 straight losses?
I'm just saying, Josh, like I don't see a bright side for Florida anytime soon.
There's
I'm
not a
trying to
bright
be
side.
very
And
nice.
UCF, I think they could also be a very
You
tough
could
game.
be you could be 2-8.
Could be.
You
Could
could
be 2 and
finish
10.
4-8, man. So
Yeah.
the question arises then, if you had the hardest difficulty, could you win more than like 3 games?
I think on hardest
With your
difficulty,
current level of of football video game
yeah,
experience.
I think I can win more games in NCAA 25 or 24, whichever year they're throwing on it on the hardest difficulty.
You
But
know,
it's video games. Real life, you got to factor in like actual player feelings, morale, field conditions, home crowd, like all those things matter much more so in real life than on a video game.
yeah, answer me
And then
this.
not to mention like these are like really hard games. We're playing
Over
some of the best teams in the country.
over under. Who wins more games, Nebraska or Florida?
I'd have to look at Nebraska's schedule because I mean you got Washington and Oregon coming in over there too. But I don't know. Is the Big Ten doing divisions this year?
Oh, they're doing one giant swoop.
Okay, I was gonna say, I mean, playing the Big Ten West would definitely help them out with
But
as
now
far
it
as some
kind of
wins
screws you
goes.
over because with it not really being divisions, like you could get
Yeah,
stuck one year playing like five really good teams in a row.
yeah. Like I named a ton of like SEC
Yeah.
West
I mean,
teams that Florida has to play.
imagine like Iowa or Nebraska one year has to play like Wisconsin, Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA. Imagine playing all
Michigan's
seven
kind
of
of
these
in that
teams,
boat this year. Michigan's
you
got
know?
like the hardest schedule in the Big Ten, I think.
And I love it because you know what? That's what you get, you cheaters. Freaking cheats.
They
Stupid.
got that ring though.
Did you also see though that they're losing coaches left and right because of DUIs?
Michigan is?
Yeah, Denard Robinson just stepped down today
Oh, he
because
stepped down.
of
Okay,
a
I didn't know
DUI,
that.
and then they lost another assistant because of a DUI. They're just drinking so much up there. They have to just handle all the sadness of Jim Harbaugh leaving. And fun
Down
fact,
in Georgia, they're like, this is what we're supposed to be doing.
fun fact, Jim Harbaugh's living in a camper in some beach in LA. So if that's not more Jim Harbaugh, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
It's just a fact, Josh. It's a fact. Um, but yeah, I mean, it is a crazy time of year. Josh, do you feel like this part of the year is like the most boring for you as a sports fan? If your team's not like in a big playoff hunt?
It's not all that boring for me because I still do have the NHL
That is
playoffs going
true.
on
That is
right
true.
now. And Cleveland's been good enough that I've been more so watching them than I haven't even gotten to watch much hockey yet.
It must be nice
By
because
now, I
my
usually
teams
would be
suck.
because usually, I mean, traditionally speaking, Cleveland heats up in June. So these first few months, I'm actually getting to watch some NHL playoffs, but
See, that's what I'm worried
I've
about the
been tuned into
Reds, man.
baseball, tapped into baseball much more.
May is usually the Reds month, and then they have the June swoon. But now I'm worried they're going to have the June swoon with a really bad May, and it's just going to be ugly, very
Hmm.
ugly. But Paul Skeens, I guess we couldn't touch on that. Congrats on his debut, throwing a
Yeah, I think
bunch of 100-mile-an-hour pitches.
a bunch of 100-mile-an-hour pitches. I think he had 7 strikeouts, allowed 3 runs in 4 innings of work. So maybe not the most spectacular of debuts, but kid's definitely got a bright future with velocity like that. And he just obviously didn't belong in the minor leagues, just crushing it.
No. Well, I mean, like Mike Leake for the Reds was like that. I don't know if you remember. Mike Leake he got drafted in July, and then he came up to the big leagues in August. Like he never pitched a single game in the minor leagues, which is super rare. Like you never see that.
Yeah, it doesn't usually happen.
You know, and again, I think that was also the year the Reds were struggling with pitchers, and they really wanted to have a guy that they could lean on. So that's very fascinating. But
Hmm.
yeah, hey, it's a time of year, like Josh said, it's fascinating. Also, I guess true too is that we have the European Championship in soccer coming up, which I'm sure we'll talk about here in the next few weeks and months
You
ahead.
will.
I will, yeah, that's true. Um, we have the Olympics coming up, which I know Josh and I both will probably touch on a lot throughout
Yeah,
the
that'll be fun.
time. So that's gonna be fun. Maybe we'll get some people on, maybe from Europe here, and maybe some people from America that could jump on and give their opinion and expertise. And yeah, but I think it's been a good episode there, Josh.
Heck of a show, man. Heck of a show. Knew it would be.
A fun one, a different one. I like the different ones. It really adds a different flavor to our shows, especially when you talk about Florida and it shuts you up for me. I don't have to say a word. It just the world says no, Josh, to Florida Gators. The Ohio State fan in me just feels better now that I didn't have to listen to. Yeah, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, Josh. We love you. We don't
Oh,
love the Gators.
shucks.
But anyways, hope you guys have a great rest of your week into the weekend. I know here in Hungary we have a 3-day weekend because of Pentecost. So enjoy
Hmm.
Pentecost if you celebrate Pentecost. Yeah, and enjoy it with friends and family. And if you love the episode on YouTube, go ahead and click that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Let us know what you think. And down below, please comment. Do you think the Florida Gators will win more than 2 games this year? Yes or no? And and again, I'm going to put it down here again. You know what? Just like I did last week. Who are you going to be in college football 25? Tell us your team. Who's going to be your dynasty? I've already locked mine up. It's going to be Bowling Green. I'm going with Bowling Green. We're gonna rock the
Bowling Green.
MAC. We're gonna move to the Big Ten. We're gonna trounce over the Big Ten and then go to the win national title. But that's for another day to talk about. But Also, if you love Spotify, listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Let us know, share it, favorite it, all that fun stuff. And yeah, have a great night. Have a great evening. And until next time, we'll see ya.